boy, did Overeem look good. Interesting match. And first off, Sakai's stock went up. Sakai's never been featured in that level of spotlight. I mean, I didn't know that this guy was tipping the scale at the full 265. I didn't know he was 15-1 until he gets a main event, until he gets matched up with Overeem. Now you start to learn about Sakai. And not to mention, he showed some major things in that contest, including what he needs to work on. Some of the ground stuff that he needs to work on. Okay, well, that's a large part of why you go out and do the fight. Back up, though. Before they got there, he looked fantastic on his feet, and you don't really see those big guys being the ones to push the pace. And I don't suggest for you that Reem was shutting down or Sakai was overwhelming him, but I do believe if you had to tip the scale, and I think you got a close conversation there, I think you got a 45-55, you might even have a 51-49, but it leaned towards Sakai. Sakai was pushing them, he was coming at him, he was throwing a lot more strikes according to the official strike count, he was having some great success with that calf kick that we've seen, a new tremendous weapon being used in MMA. You guys will remember the flying knee era, right? Masvidal Askren would be a fine example for time frame, but there was like an era that went through everybody and every organization was finding the success with the flying knee, and the guys start working on it defensively. You don't see it as much. That calf kick is a very new one, and the defenses are very hard. They're very tough. There's not a lot to do when it's coming that low. I only bring that up because he was having great moments. He got into some real exchanges where he put Reem on the fence and scored some major points, at least within the judges. He understood how to go to the head and dip and come to the body. He just showed some real technique from a Muay Thai standpoint, taking on a great K1 champion, multiple-time champion in Overeem, who just doesn't get outstruck. You've seen fights where Overeem has been caught and put down and beat with striking, but you haven't seen a meaningful amount of time elapse where you look back and you could give the other guy technically a striking advantage of Overeem. I would offer you that. If you could give me an example, I'd be open to it. But I thought that Sakai looked really good. But you have to understand that he looked good to give Overeem the credit of then in round number 3 discovering a takedown. He goes and looks for a takedown, uses a body lock, blocks the knee, comes to a good position. Sakai was a little bit stuck. Sakai was not offering a ton of threats, and you're just not going to. This is the other side to weighing 265. You're just not going to. Your hips just aren't going to float. You're much heavier. You're much more stuck in that position. Well, and we haven't seen a lot of guys that are that big, by the way. But if you were to turn to a Brock Lesnar type, if you were to turn to a Mark Hunt type, if you were to turn to a Sakai body type, you're just not seeing those guys floating to the hips. You're not seeing that in Abu Dhabi and grappling, in Olympic wrestling, in any kind of grappling form. If you can get them in that specific position, which is on bottom, you're probably going to keep them there, and that's what Reem did. So, okay, Reem takes notes. He's coming out for the 4th round, but he's now got this note in mind, which is, hey, get that guy back in this position. We just had some good moments there, and he did. He forced it. He forced that position, got in the fence, got on a single. He was starting to lose the single. He hit like a suicide roll. Called a suicide roll because if it doesn't work, you're stuck and you're not getting up. It did work, and he got on top, and he pounded him out, and he was picking his shots. That ground and pound was very good. There wasn't very many critiques that a coach could look back and give to Overeem. He needed to push his hips in a little bit more. When he's on top, he's keeping his hips out. Sakai even had some luck getting a foot on his hip, pushing him away. Had Reem brought his hips in, chest high, head high, that would not have happened. I don't know if I can look any further, and I got to look pretty hard to try to find that critique. He understands where the clock's at. He understands from being a veteran when he hears the clapper and he knows it's short time and when to lay it on and where to lay the shots. I mean, Overeem just showed a lot, not to mention his durability. This is a guy who's scheduled for nothing but 5-round fights and gets pretty close to that 5th round. Did it again. I mean, to look at the duration, to look at the way that you have to train to be able to do that, and the confidence that you have to have, as well as the planning and the strategy to execute that. Overeem throws some moments away. He threw some moments away where he knew, okay, I'm getting overwhelmed. And he was doing the math in his head. Do I fight back here in a moment I'm going to lose anyway, or do I protect myself and save my energy and use it later? Now, that's a very hard game to play, and I would suggest you don't do it unless you have the experience of Overeem. But when I'm watching this, And I'm watching him go out and doing it. I'm just so impressed. Oh my God, I'm so impressed with this guy's ability after all of this time to, one, find the motivation. I mean, why are we here? What are we doing this for? What comes next off of this? And when you're dealing with an Overeem, and I think that this is very relevant of what he did on Saturday night, it really does not matter who he fights, at least to him. Sakai is a hammer that did not have a huge name. Beating Sakai is not really going to send Overeem anywhere. The good news for Overeem, he's already there. He's already in the main event. Was a main event before, be the main event next time. Wasn't fighting for a championship this time, won't be fighting for it next time. He's already there. And if you do look at a direction of where do you go for Overeem, and this came up at the post-fight press conference by Overeem. He said, look, I want to quote this because there's a couple of things in this quote. Make sure if you heard it, you possibly didn't pick up on it. If you didn't hear it, I'll share it with you now. Somebody asked him about Derek Lewis specifically. He said, look, man, I think my teammate Curtis Blades is going to go right through him. If for some reason he doesn't, yeah, man, I'll put one on the Black Beast. Okay. First off, I think he's looking in the right direction. Overeem and Beast, I think everything I said about Overeem, I would say back about Beast. Great. Match him up if you want to. I was more interested in the exact verbiage when he said, my teammate, Curtis Blades, I think will go right through him. My teammate. Overeem is a guy who has belonged to gyms his entire life. He had workout partners. There's a significant difference in a training partner and a teammate. I have personally never heard Overeem use that word. And it's a meaningful word. It's very fun when you can use it. It's very fun when you feel that way inside, but it is a very different meaning. And as Overeem has settled down in Colorado, it seems as though just by that one word that I heard, but it's the first time I've ever heard him say teammate. It sounds as though, and possibly this shows us why he's having this level of success, it sounds as though he, at long last, has found the right home.